Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new, welcome, and this is my second movie review. If you haven't noticed by now, I'll be reviewing Elemental. But before I do, I would appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel and check out my other uploads. I do more than just movie reviews. I do collection reviews. Currently, I have doll reviews up and hopefully more in the future on my other items. I also have some gameplay on there, and I do live streams currently on Tuesdays at 6:30 Central Time, but that may change, but right now that's what it is. But let's go ahead and get back to this movie review on Elemental. So before we get further into it, if you want to avoid any spoilers, you can watch this later after you've seen it, or I don't think it really has a lot of spoilers from like the trailer. You don't really get what the movie is going to be about. You kind of know that it's going to be like a love story, but it's more than just a love story. There are different messages in the movie that do come across in the film.
My initial thoughts, because I remember talking to you about this.
Oh yes.
My initial thoughts when I saw the previews were, it's kind of cheesy. I don't know if I'm really gonna like it. Turns out, when I watched it, absolutely love it. Has multiple moments that are emotional, but in a very good way. Mm-hmm. And I actually think the previews make it, to me, seem a little bit cheesy. Like, I'm gonna go with that word again. I'm like, no. Like, it's a beautiful story, and there are many wonderful moments in it, and the character development is fantastic, and there are multiple themes present and lessons to be learned.
I didn't expect to like it as much as I did when I watched the whole film, and I didn't expect it to pull on my heartstrings as the way it did, because there are so many messages in the movie that I can see in, well, it does represent real life, but of course in an animated way that's for children and adults. Well, we'll now talk about the movie itself, now that we've talked about our thoughts on the movie. So the movie starts off with the parents migrating over to a new, I guess in our days we'd say a new country. So let's say somebody coming from a poorer country coming to the U.S.
It represents almost, in a sense, like a new race being introduced and moving to a new place, and they face not just persecution, but it's almost, people don't understand them, I think is a better way to say it. They're not treated well. They're
segregated.
Yes, they're segregated. They don't seem to have a place. People, they almost fear them, but they get annoyed with them. They don't like them. They're treated sometimes as less than the other races, or the other elements in this case. And the city itself is also not built in a way that supports that element's needs, but it supports the other three elements' needs a lot better.
But I think that you are right, they did stay in that area, but I didn't get it until kind of like maybe 10-15 minutes in, because at first I was like, well, why is the fire coming to this island? And then I was like, are they the only fire people on this island? And then I was just like, okay. And then they couldn't find their place in that new, I guess, country, you would sort of say, or island, or place of living. And when they did get there, they had to find a place because there wasn't a place already for fire people. So it did touch on, kind of like in today's society where there is that prejudice and racist out there, and it kind of touched on that and represented that.
I'll also add that I got a sense from Ember's conversations with Wade, she had internalized.
Before we continue, this is Ember and this is Wade.
Okay.
Because I don't think we explained.
I think that Ember had internalized her situation, and perhaps that would stretch to other fire elementals, that they were lesser and not as deserving of opportunities, and would even think of others as having more opportunities than them, and that life doesn't work the same way for some of the elements as it does for the fire elements, and that's explored a little bit. I was really glad that that was explored, and that you see Ember overcoming those obstacles very slowly but surely throughout the movie.
And that was just one out of many one of many themes throughout the movie. Other than the whole elements shouldn't mix in together with, comparing it to our real life, there's also that other exploration of self-identity, and going with what you want to do and not what your parents want you to do, because some parents will be like, this is what I've done, this is what I want to give to you, and I want you to follow in my footsteps, and I want you to be happy because this was my dream and it brought me happiness, so it's going to bring you happiness. And we do see that sometimes in parents, that they build this empire or this dream of theirs, and they want to share that dream with their children, but they're not necessarily thinking that, oh, does my children want this? Or is their passion something else? And that's kind of what is brought up as well in this story, is Ember's dad creates this business on his own, which is kind of like a corner grocery store vibe, and he wants to pass it down to Ember. And she thinks, because she's grown up with it, she thinks, that's what I want to do. I want to make my dad proud. I want to make, my family proud, and know that I can run this store without him and pass it down generations to generations. But then as the movie goes along, you find out that that isn't Ember's dream, and she wants to do something else.
Sometimes that is appropriate. Like, sometimes that is something that their child wants, and they pass it down, and it becomes this family thing. And if that's what their child really wants to do and is interested in, and it makes them happy, then great. But as you were mentioning in this particular case, Ember really didn't want to continue the family business. She was really only doing it because she felt that her dad had sacrificed, and therefore she owed him, and it made her a bad person or a bad daughter in this case if she didn't follow in his footsteps.
Another theme of the movie, how to handle and manage your anger, was also brought up in the film, because Ember, she is more of a person or being who has a lot of anger in her, and she expresses it in a not so positive way. As of Wade, he's the opposite. He is into his emotions. He expresses his emotions. He's not afraid to cry. All the water people aren't afraid to cry.
And just to add in, a good communicator.
And then with Ember, she likes to hold in. She, even in the film, she says, I've never cried. Like, she says that. She's like, I've never cried. She's never really had that chance to show emotion. And that could go back to the way she was brought up. Kind of touches base that he was brought up in like a wealthier family. And it's okay for them to show their emotions and cry and be happy about things. And as for Ember, she kind of has to find that way that she can kind of like change herself to make her be more acceptable with her emotions. And Wade throughout the movie kind of teaches her that.
I don't remember his exact words, but he says something to the effect of, my anger is presenting something that I don't really like.
Yes.
And I think he's trying to basically say you need to explore that. You need to search. Basically, you need to self-reflect because there is a root cause. And that is explored throughout the movie, and I won't tell you what that is, just to not give anything away. But she does explore what that root cause is, and it makes a difference for her. But I think this movie also explores give people a chance. Every individual is different, and getting to know them, you may find that not every person is the same. And I think Ember's reality, or what's the word I'm looking for? Her assumptions are tested because Wade is not what she expected. She thought that all water people were bad and they didn't deserve a chance and you can't be around them, and that keeps getting challenged because he keeps doing good things and he keeps doing things that surprise her, and she doesn't want to like him, but she does like him because he is actually a very kind-hearted, great communicator, and really challenges this notion that all water people are bad.
I just wanted to touch base on one more theme of the movie that I saw, and that was the relationship between a parent and child. Family was accepting of Ember coming in, and they accommodated her because it was all water, so they were like putting things so they wouldn't like get her out. Of course, there's some like harsh scenes in there where the kids are like, oh, if I push you in here, will you die? So that was, that was kind of a little funny moment. But then with Ember and her mother and father, you can see throughout the movie, it kind of gives that sense of she's afraid of what her parents will think of her if she goes on her own viewpoints of water or the other elements, because they are so to it, like, we don't like water. And when Ember's dad finds Wade in the basement or whatever, he's kind of like, what is water doing here? And blah, 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 and she kind of has to say, he's not here doing, this. And so, like, she's making excuses for him so she doesn't get in trouble. At the end of the movie, it shows that the parents, Ember's parents, they honestly, when it came down to it, they loved her, for what she wanted to do. And he even said, you're taking, when I say my dream as your dream, is my dream is you, not actually this store that I built. And he made that known to Ember, that it is okay that if she did not want to take the store, it's okay to follow her own dreams. Overall, it was a love story, but it does touch on all those topics. Overall, I would say I would give the movie maybe a 9 out of 10.
I'd also give it a 9 out of 10 just because it's difficult for me. It is difficult for me to give any movie a 10 out of 10 because there's always things that you can find. But I would be leaning towards a 10 out of 10. It's very special. Like it's got several moments in there, and I think you'll find those as you watch the movie.
Before I forget, there was a short at the beginning of the movie, which was an extension of Up with Carl. It was titled Carl's Date. So Carl and Doug the dog were in it. And that was also a good little short that represents moving on. Basically, another person, a woman, he's on the phone with, and she asked him out on a date, and he's just like, I just said yes. What did I do? Like, am I doing something bad? Ellie's gone and I said yes to a date. And like, it's just a real good message that's saying, you know, if you feel like it's okay to move on and you're ready, it's okay. And just, you know, you don't have to let go of that person that you've lost, but it's okay to also move forward and get to know someone else as well when you feel that time is ready to come. And then also to be yourself. That's another message in that short, because he was kind of like, well, what do? I haven't been on a date in so long. He was dyeing his hair. He was buying all these gifts. And then Doug, you know, he, as silly as he is, you know, he kind of brought him back and was like, hey, why are you doing this? Like, just be yourself. And that's what he ended up doing. And it was very heartwarming as well, because he was scared, and Doug also saw that, and it shows a relationship between a person and their dog, and how, or pet, and how close they can become in their bond. Because at the end of the short, he's getting ready to head out, and he's hesitating, like he's scared. And Doug sees that, and he grabs his leash, and he says, I will go with you. And that just made me so happy. Well, I appreciate your time and joining us on this movie review again. I'm thinking that anytime I do movie reviews, I'll just have my partner join in with me, since we see movies every Friday, and it gives me time to spend time with him too. But leave a comment down below. Let me know if there's any other movies you'd like us to see that we may not have seen yet, or any reviews that you'd like us to do on other movies. And please like this video, subscribe, put on that notification if you want to see any future content, and Simply Right out!